Now, taking a look out to the other side of the country, the euro inflation comes out at its all-time high in 30 years is at 5%. More lies from the elites. Where are these numbers coming from? What are the metrics these guys are using? Looking at the main components of the euro area, inflation energy is expected to have the highest annual rate this year since December, 26%, followed by food, alcohol, tobacco, 3.2%, non-energy industrial goods, 2.9%, and services at 2.4%. This is the chart. Monetary policies cannot control the bottlenecks on the supply side, the inflationary shocks in the supply chain, or the problems we are all facing worldwide. With food prices going out of control, food prices keep going up and up and up. Food shelves are empty, gas prices are high, and there's no sight that it's going to stop. It's just going to keep going up and up and up. Now, I got a question. Where does inflation come from? And I need more clarification on that. Who better than to ask than Milton Friedman? Mr. Friedman, can you explain?
Inflation is made in one place and one place only, Washington, D.C. And in Washington, D.C., the chief source, immediate source of inflation is a Greek temple on Constitution Avenue, which houses the Federal Reserve Board. An accomplice, and a major accomplice, of course, sits in the halls of Congress in Washington. They are a major accomplice because you tell them to be. The American people have been telling Congress for many years, spend more money on us, please. But they've been telling us, don't raise our taxes. Congress has been listening. It's been spending more money on you. But on the other hand, it's been very unwilling to raise taxes. As a result, it has imposed inflation as a tax. That's one tax that you don't have to vote for, but you have to pay.
Thank you, Mr. Friedman. Hi, I'm Jose, your regular Joe Blow, as always, with my ears open, keeping an eye out for whatever is going on with this inflation. Since it works this way, when America catches a cold, the whole world catches pneumonia. I'm looking at these numbers in the Eurozone, and just like US, the Eurozone is also running hot at an all-time high of 30 years, since 30 years, with their inflation as well. This could have been controlled months ago. Problem is that the Feds have run out of ammo. They cannot lift interest rates. They cannot taper. They cannot stop the fiscal spending. The easy money cannot stop. The markets can't handle it, and they know this. So all they have in their arsenal is credible threats. And with credible threats, you'll see that they'll continue to come out, talk some more, threat. Talk some more, threat. They'll meet again, then they'll come out, make an announcement, and give you more threats. Problem is that they think they can control this. Once it gets out of hand, it's very, very, very hard to tame. All the while, the average Joe is in a euphoric state and has no idea they're playing hot potato with them. They will be left with the bag to deal with this decline of this economy. Again, Mr. Friedman, can you explain these stages of inflation?
The fact is that most people enjoy the early stages of the inflationary process. Britain, in the swinging 60s, there was plenty of money around, business was brisk, jobs were plentiful, and prices had not yet taken off. Everybody seemed happy at first. But by the early 70s, as the good times rolled along, prices started to rise more and more rapidly. Soon, some of these people were going to lose their jobs.
We have got it.
The party was coming to an end.
We're on top of the world.
The story is much the same in the United States, only the process started a little later. We've had one inflationary party after another, yet we still can't seem to avoid them. We have learned from that failure. The Federal Reserve will not fail in the same way again. This time it will fail in a different way. This time it has been failing, not by producing a Great Depression, but by producing an inflation. Because just as you will hear the story that it was business that was responsible for the Depression, so you will today hear the story that it is labor and management that are responsible for inflation.
Now that we got some clarity with some humor on the stages, maybe we can also get some insight from the Economic Ninja, great channel, on what to expect and a few things we can do to prepare moving forward. Fair use, let's see this great channel on the Eurozone inflation and his perspective.
Economic Ninja here. Hope you're doing great. Got a story out of the Eurozone, and it's really telling how much governments want to lie to you to get you to think there's nothing wrong here, there's nothing to see here, everybody go away. And we're going to be talking about inflation, okay? Today, right out of CNBC, I'm going to link the article below. The Eurozone inflation hit a new record high of 5% in December. Now, to say that that is absolutely a joke is the understatement of the century. And I'm not even joking. To say century, I think we need to look back on prior times in the last 100 years and see if we've ever found a time like this. I don't think we have. Now, this is where I'm going with this. It says 5% in December, yet energy prices, natural gas has gone up 500% in the last year. But they don't like to just put all of these different things that are going wrong in these metrics. If you understand the CPI, and a lot of people like to talk about it as the CP lie, because over the years, they have taken very important metrics out of that index so that they could sort of let you know it's not as bad as you think, even though people are feeling the pinch at grocery stores and all kinds of other places. So we're going to go over a couple quick key points. It says preliminary data showed Friday that headline inflation came in at 5% for the month compared to the same month last year. Now, I think really important, wait a minute, that doesn't even make sense. Preliminary data showed Friday that headline inflation came in at 5% for the month compared to the same month last year. Well, they didn't even give me the compared to price. That's good job, CNBC. Deeper right here. Here we go. Well, let's go month on month. It said Friday that the headline inflation came in at 5% for the month compared to the same month last year. The figure represents the highest ever on record and follows November's all-time high of 4.9%. So inching up just a little bit, right? But we've seen it inching up all throughout the year. Now, this is where it's very important for the rest of the world, okay? And I'm gonna, again, link this below, take a look at it. But with mainstream media these days, it's very hard to figure out, what's good and what's not. Europe leads the world. A lot of people think the US does, but the Bank of England has its grips on the Fed as well. People don't realize that. The dollar-euro trade is very, very important. It's a great way to gauge the risk of what we have right now in the world, especially with interbank lending rates, things like that, because we are able to go between the US dollar and the euro back and forth with this nice little, how do I put it, way of hiding how much money's out there. So this dollar-euro trade is very important. Well, Europe is a mass producer. It still has a massive banking industry, and it is extremely closely tied to the US dollar and banking system. If Europe falls, I believe the US will follow within 4 weeks, maybe 8 weeks. I cannot be more serious about that. Now, this isn't fear, doom and gloom, right? Because we're all preparing for something like this so that when it happens, we're gonna buy up all kinds of assets, because the meek will inherit the land, right? Just sitting back, having a savings account, have investments in solid things that are inflation hedges, that's what I'm referring to. And then waiting, and when the time's right, we pounce. That's what wealthy people have done throughout the dawn of time.
So now that we're all caught up, we have all this information. Now we know for sure inflation is a wealth killer. It's a hidden tax, and it's here. So let's hedge and continue to prepare and study this. For inflation is a hard animal to control once it's out of his cage. And these elites have made the mistake of underestimating the power of inflation time after time. So only you should care about your finances, because the banks, the feds, your central bankers, and your politicians, although they should have the best interest in heart for us, they really don't. They only care about elections and their votes. Remember, Mr. Friedman just enlightened us. He told us it comes from the feds, the central bankers, and the politicians. Now that we know, all we have to do is prep, surf this wave, and hedge it. Thank you. As always, I'll continue to keep an eye out, my ears open. See you guys on the next one. Stay free.